Lately, there's been a trend going around on YouTube where booktubers read sad books for an entire week, and normally I stay far away from sad books, but I thought it would be fun to switch things up, so here's my attempt at this challenge. Enjoy seeing my heart break into a million pieces. So the first book that I want to read during this reading vlog is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. I've read the reviews on this one, and so many people said that they cried while reading this book, and it's actually a very sad story. So apparently it follows a main character who was abused by her brother's best friends in her own home, in her own bedroom, while her whole family was in the house. She doesn't tell anyone what happened because she really doesn't believe, one, that it actually happened, and second, she doesn't really believe that anyone will actually believe her story. But as the years go on, it starts to eat at her and it starts to destroy everything that she once believed. And it's actually told in 4 different parts. So we see the main character in her freshman year, and then the book ends, I believe, with her being a senior in high school. So I'm interested to see how the book is written and how much the main character ends up changing. I'm going to demonstrate a young woman's strength as she navigates the disappointment and unbearable pains of adolescence. How do you pronounce that? Adolescence? Adolescence. Listen, I know 2 languages. A first love and first heartbreak, of friendships broken and rebuilt, all while learning to embrace the power of survival she never knew she had hidden within her heart. This is a poignant book that realistically looks at the lasting effects of trauma on love, relationships, and life. So let's start reading and let's see if this book is gonna make me cry. I feel like this book is going to be really good. I just have a good feeling about it, but it's also going to mess with my head, I feel like. Let's just see what the book is given. Also, can we talk about the cover? The cover is really pretty. The letters are kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, elevated, so you feel them when you touch the book. I don't know what I'm saying, but I really do like the cover. Let's start reading. Okay, we're jumping right into the abuse from page 1. I don't think I was ready for that. I thought it was going to be a slight build up, but no, we're jumping right in. It's the night that everything changed for the main character. I feel like this book is going to mess with my mind. I don't know if I'm ready for this, you guys. Reading books like these makes me feel so anxious. It's not my favorite thing to do, so I very rarely pick up books that have to deal with abuse like this, but I'm gonna power through for this vlog. Honestly, fuck Kevin. What? Really? Your best friend's little sister? I can't. He better get what he deserves by the end of this book, because if he goes scot-free, I'm gonna be really upset. Also, can we talk about her family? They clearly know something is wrong. She doesn't seem okay, yet they don't bother to actually ask her what's wrong, or like take the time to really find out what's wrong, and they kind of just dismiss her behavior, and it really pisses me off. Like, there's obviously something wrong with her, yeah, they're so dismissive. If only they paid a little bit more attention to her. Okay, whatever, let me keep on reading. I just finished part 1 of The Way I Used to Be, and the first part basically follows Eddie through her second half of freshman year after what Kevin did to her. She's clearly struggling, but no one is really paying close enough attention or is bothering to ask her what's going on. Her parents especially are just acting like her behavior is typical teenage behavior. Teenagers will be teenagers. Teenagers hate their parents. They act out. They rebel. They're not actually taking the time to like sit her down, asking her like, okay, you went from being this quiet, shy, well-behaved teenager to overnight being this teenager that slams doors, that says I hate you. They don't sit her down or bother to look deeper into why she has suddenly changed, and it really bugs me because yes, teenagers can be rebellious. They're exploring their boundaries, their parents' boundaries, and of course some teenagers are just, let's just say, difficult, but not all teenagers are like that, and the behavior doesn't typically happen overnight. So I feel like if I were the parent and I noticed that my child's behavior changed like this, I would want to figure out why, and I would say to myself, there has to be a reason why her behavior has changed so suddenly. Like, she went from this quiet girl to a girl that I don't recognize. Obviously something had to happen, but they don't question it. They just, again, say that she's a teenager and teenagers will be teenagers and eventually she'll grow out of it, but she's not growing out of it. And because of what happened to her, she's very defensive and she's not letting anyone in, which is totally understandable, but it's driving a wedge between her and her family and her friends. So by the end of part 1, before she is set to start her sophomore year of high school, she decides that she's no longer going to be the quiet little girl everyone expects her to be. She's no longer going to be Minnie Mouse, as her dad likes to call her, because she's quiet. She's going to say what she wants and do what she wants, which we can already see where this is gonna go, or where this is gonna lead. Nowhere good. I can't believe no one is asking her what happened or why the change in behavior. She still hasn't told anyone what happened to her, and I don't think she'll be telling anyone anytime soon, which is sad. That's sad. Kevin, the guy that assaulted Eddie, has a younger sister named Amanda, and she's being very bitchy towards Eddie for no apparent reason. She's actually a year behind her, so she's a freshman while Eddie is now a sophomore in high school. And the way she's treating Eddie, I don't know, raising some red flags. I don't know if Kevin did the same thing to Amanda that he did to Eddie, or if he poisoned Eddie to Amanda in case Eddie ever decided to speak up against him. Maybe he didn't want his sister to believe Eddie's allegations. I don't know, but she's really bitchy. Like, she's acting like she absolutely hates Eddie, and Eddie is so confused because she's never done anything to Kevin's little sister. In fact, they were actually friends when they were a lot younger, and I just feel so bad for Eddie because not only did she get assaulted by Kevin, but now his little sister is being a total bitch towards her. And it's like, what is your problem, little girl? Like, there's no reason for you to be acting like this. Her behavior is just not the way to go. And like, she's so interested in Eddie's life, and I'm just like, what's going on? What's the deal? What's your problem with Eddie? Leave her alone. The girl has been through enough. I hope Eddie's not about to do what I think she's about to do, because it's not going to make her feel any better. It's probably going to make her feel worse. Eddie, don't do this, please. Don't do it. I'm not gonna lie, I did not trust Josh at first, but he's a total sweetheart and I feel so bad for him. Eddie's treating him like absolute crap, and I understand why it's so hard for her to open up to him, but he doesn't know what happened to her, obviously, so he's just like, feels like he's getting whiplash from her. Like, one minute she seems like she wants a relationship with him, and the next she pushes him away, and I just feel so bad because it's clear that he cares about her. Can't help but feel bad for both him and Eddie. Honestly, you can't help feel bad for everyone in Eddie's life because she's definitely acting out, but she doesn't know what else to do. She's hurting, and it's her only way to make herself feel better. So it's just like a sad situation, like, all around. Okay, yes, I'm still in bed, but I just finished part 3. Part 3 basically followed Eddie in her junior year of high school, and she definitely started to spiral in her junior year. She's doing some things that are questionable, but she's basically doing these things to fill a void in her and to try to forget about what happened to her. I think it's her way to take back control of her life and of what happened to her, and to kind of just prove that the rumors that are circulating around her school are true. She's basically saying like, all right, you guys are talking about me, I might as well do what you're saying I'm doing, because you're going to talk about me regardless, which is really sad. And I know she's going to look back and regret the things that she's doing, but makes me mad because everyone close to her is seeing that she's spiraling and they're not really doing anything to help her, especially her best friend Mara. Like, she tries to talk to Eddie about the things that she's doing, but she gives up so easily. And I feel like if you truly care about someone, you would push the subject a little bit more to try to get some sense into them, or to at least figure out why they're acting this way in the first place. And I feel like no one in her life is actually doing that, and it makes me so mad because clearly this girl did a whole 180. Like, she wasn't the way she is now. No one's catching on to her change in behavior, and it's like, if only you would ask her what happened, what's going on, maybe she would open up. I don't know. But yeah, unfortunately Eddie hasn't opened up to anyone about what happened to her, so it's driving a wedge between her and everyone close to her. But again, if only they would just ask her what's going on. That's all she wants. She just wants someone to notice that she's hurting, but no one's noticing. Why aren't you noticing? Why aren't her parents noticing? Why isn't her best friend of so many years noticing that she's hurting? Like, come on. I'm reading part 4 of the book, which is the final part of the book. We're following Eddie in her senior year of high school, and she's completely spiraled. Like in part 3, she was starting to spiral, but in part 4 of the book, she's completely spiraled out of control. She doesn't have a relationship with her parents at all. She doesn't even call them mom and dad anymore. She just calls them by their first name, and they don't really know what to do with her. I feel like they're just kind of ignoring the problem and pretending that everything is okay. I can't imagine being in their shoes. Like, one minute your kid is well-behaved, loving, caring, and the next they're saying that they hate you and they're rebelling against your rules and just never home. So I kind of feel for her parents, but I obviously understand where she's also coming from because of everything that has happened to her. And I feel like she kind of blames her parents in a way because they didn't teach her how to speak up for herself. Just a very sad situation. I'm hoping that by the end of this book that Kevin gets what's coming for him, because if he doesn't end up in jail, I'm going to be so upset. I feel like I said that already, but I'm going to say it again. He needs to end up in jail. I have like about 100 pages left in the book, so I feel like I'm going to finish it today, and then I'll share with you guys what my final thoughts are on this book, because I do have some thoughts on it. I want to read a part of the book to you guys because it's just perfect. Eddie is talking to Josh. You can tell that this is the moment when she realizes that she's going to be okay and that the only person she needs in order to be okay is herself. And it's just such an important moment in the book that I want to share with you guys. Eddie goes, "I always thought that somehow you'd be the one to save me, you know, all along, all those years ago even. I think that's why I called. Maybe I wanted this to happen. I wanted you to come and, you know, rescue me or whatever." Josh goes, "So let me." "You can't though. Nobody can. I can't keep thinking of myself as someone who needs rescuing." I love that for her. She's finally realized her true potential and she's finally realized that she's going to be okay. I love that. Such an important moment of the book and such an important life lesson. Like, you don't need anyone to be okay. All you need is yourself and the desire to be okay. You guys, I just finished The Way I Used to Be. First off, I didn't cry, but I still think that this is such a good book. It's such a heartbreaking novel. It covers such an important topic, which is sexual assault. I think the author did it in a way that wasn't like too graphic. Like, it was a little graphic, but it was also done in such a delicate and sensitive way, and it actually portrayed how everyone reacts to abuse differently. One behavior is not better than another. I really like that the author didn't just show how abuse can affect the person that was abused, obviously, but how abuse can actually affect everyone around that individual. And I think the author did a good job in showing Eddie's struggle throughout her high school experience after that night happened. And she also showed how her behavior affected her friendships, her family, her relationships. The author really showed how abuse can look differently for everyone. Not every individual is going to react the same way towards being abused. It's definitely a heartbreaking novel. Definitely look up the trigger warnings before you pick up this book, because I can definitely see this book being triggering for someone who may have experienced the same thing as Eddie, which unfortunately happens way too often. This was definitely almost a 5-star read for me. I didn't cry, but it definitely is a sad novel, and Eddie is such a complicated character. Like, there were certain times where obviously I felt bad for her because everything that she went through, but then there were times where I just could not stand her behavior, and I didn't really like how she was hurting those around her, especially Joshua. I loved him so much. All he wanted was to love her, and unfortunately Eddie at the time could not allow him to love her because of everything that she was going through, everything she was feeling, and how broken she felt. But then again, I understand why she was behaving that way. That's why I say she's complicated, because sometimes there were some parts in the book where you felt for her, and then there were other parts in the book where you just wanted to shake her and be like, what are you doing? But like I said earlier, everyone reacts to abuse differently. The only reason I'm not giving this book a 5-star rating is because I feel like there were a lot of plot holes towards the end. I wish the author would have included an epilogue where we got to see where Kevin ended up, or where we got to see Eddie in the future, maybe in college. college. I do know that there's a sequel coming out this year. I think it comes out in the fall. The sequel is called The Way I Am Now. I'm definitely going to pick it up. But in that sequel, I know that we're going to see Eddie in college. But this book was written a few years ago. This book was written in 2016, I believe. So I don't know if the author always had planned on writing a sequel, but I kind of wish that we would have gotten to see a little bit more of Eddie in the future, maybe in therapy, maybe you would have seen Kevin gone to jail. I don't know. I just wish there was an epilogue at the end of the book. I don't know. To make the story come full circle, I feel like it ended kind of abruptly. I also wish we would have gotten to see Eddie talking to her parents and telling them what happened to her, because I feel like they were kept in the dark for 4 years and they really didn't understand why their daughter was acting out, and I kind of just wanted to see them start to repair their relationship. That's the only reason I'm not giving it 5 stars. It's definitely up there. I probably will give this a 4.75. It's definitely one of the best books I've ever read, just because it again tackles the subject of abuse, I think, perfectly. Definitely recommend this book. Just make sure to look up the trigger warnings beforehand. Okay, so this is the next book that I'll be starting, and it's You Be Home Now by Kathleen Glasgow. This one is supposed to be like another very heartbreaking book. Let's see if it actually ends up making me cry. It goes, for all of Emery's life, she's been told who she is. Everything was turned on its head though when she and her brother Joey were in the car accident that killed Candy Montclair. The car accident that revealed just how bad Joey's drug habit was. 4 months later, Emmy's junior year is starting. Joey is home from rehab and the entire town is still reeling from the accident. Everyone is still telling Emmy who she is, but so much has changed. How can she be the same person? Was she ever that person at all? Emmy has always thought that people live one story, but she's beginning to see that people are more than they appear to be. People like her brother who might not be cured, like the popular guy who lives next door, and most of all, like the many ghostly addicts who haunt the edges of the town. Now it might just be time to decide for herself who she is. So this is another YA novel, and I don't know if I'm making a mistake reading 2 YA novels back to back, because it's not my favorite genre to read, but I've heard really good things about this book, and like I said, it's supposed to be a very sad book, so I think it's perfect for this reading week, seeing that I'm only reading sad books. This is another book that starts off with a bang. We literally start off the book when the car accident happens and Emery's in the hospital, waking up for the first time. Also, this book mentioned a game that I haven't thought about in such a long time. You guys remember the parachute game in elementary school? The book just mentioned it and it just took me back. Like I had a flashback of me being a little girl during gym class playing that parachute game. That used to be so much fun. Everyone looked forward to that game. Can't believe I haven't thought about that game in years. And this book just took me way back. Makeup's all oily now, but can I just say that right off the bat, I do not like Emmy's parents at all. I feel like they're just so busy and focused on their careers and on their jobs that they're not really paying attention to their kids. I mean, they're trying to get Joey some help and they sent him to rehab and all that, but I feel like they think that his addiction is a problem that they can just sweep under the rug. Like he went to rehab once and he will be perfectly fine, when sadly that is not the case. It doesn't happen like that in the majority of cases of addiction, which is really sad. But I feel like Emmy is just invisible to her parents. She's doing everything in her power to be the good child so they don't have to worry about her, because she feels like they have a lot on their plate worrying about Joey, which I understand where she's coming from, but at the same time she's only a teenager, so of course she wants to be seen by her parents. And I feel like if they weren't so focused on their careers and keeping up appearances and all of that, then maybe they will actually notice that their kids are hurting. There's a reason why Joey is addicted to drugs. Like there's a reason. He's hurting. They're not understanding that, which is really sad. So I'm not a big fan of their parents right now. Okay, you guys, so it's a little bit later now and I'm about 130 pages into the book. I also hadn't planned on annotating this book since I annotated the first book that I read for this vlog, but honestly there are so many good quotes in this book. I feel like I'm highlighting and writing on every damn page because there's just like so many good good life quotes in this book. Like, I'm loving that aspect. I will have to say that it is pretty slow moving. I feel like we're just seeing Joey and Emmy's day-to-day lives. Well, everything is from Emmy's perspective, but I feel like we're not really getting anywhere with the story, and we're basically just seeing the aftermath of everything that went down after the accident and after everyone realized that Joey had an actual problem. So we see them going back to school after Joey is done with his rehab, and then we see Emmy struggling to find her own voice, and she wants to believe that her brother can stay clean, but she's also stressed and worried that he might not be able to stay clean. So we're kind of seeing that unfold and seeing how their relationship has fractured, because they used to be super close growing up, and ever since he started doing drugs, they kind of just grew apart, and she's mourning that loss of a relationship because she just wants her brother to be the person she's always known him to be. So it's kind of sad, but it is a very slow moving. I'm kind of waiting for something to happen, like, okay, yeah, I get it, he's back from rehab, you guys are back in high school, what's gonna happen next? You know, that sort of thing. Like I just said though, I'm really enjoying the quotes. There's just so many good quotes in this book. Like, the writing is 10 out of 10. I will have to say that. Even though it's slow, I am really enjoying the writing, and this is my first Kathleen Glasgow book, and it's definitely not going to be my last. I got cut off from what I was saying because my SD card died, and now I don't remember what I was saying. But just know that I'm really enjoying the writing. I just wish something else would happen and things will pick up a little bit more. Also, I am not a fan of Gage. I feel like he's giving off a bunch of red flags. Like, I'm not a fan of him. He's not giving me good vibes at all, and I feel like he's taking advantage of Emmy's quietness and how she's so shy and in a shell, essentially. And he's definitely taking advantage of her and using her, and I'm not a fan of him. So yeah, I thought I should just mention that. Alright, you guys, I just got in the shower, and if my eye looks a little red, ignore it. I put soap in my eyes and now it's burning, so fun time. But I want to do a quick little face mask. So I thought while I apply this face mask that I would give you guys an update on You'd Be Home by Now. Oh my god, my face mask is almost done. So I'm about 200 pages into the book, and it's moving very slow still. I mean, it's really YA. I'm reading the book and I'm realizing that it's YA, if that makes any sense. Like, some YA books, you read the book and you kind of forget it's YA. The majority of the book has been Joey and Emmy going through their high school experience after the aftermath of the car accident, and which is fine. It's just nothing really has happened so far, and it's just been 200 pages of like everyday high school life. Joey is definitely struggling a lot with his addiction and his recovery. I feel like his parents, I should say, are making everything worse for him because they're being super strict, which obviously some structure is good, but I feel like they're pressuring him and loading his plate with so much stuff just so he doesn't have time to think about drugs. But in reality, they're making it so much harder for him to keep it together, which makes me feel really bad for him. And then obviously I feel bad for Emmy because she feels like she has to keep him sober, like it's her responsibility, when at the end of the day, the only person that can keep Joey sober is Joey. So I really do feel for her because obviously she wants the best for her brother. I just wish his parents were more involved in his life and in Emmy's life. They're so focused on working 24/7. Like, their father is a doctor. He goes home super late, doesn't really interact with them. His mother is a control freak and likes to control their lives, but isn't really present to ask them how they're doing, how they're feeling with everything. And it's just a sad situation. Like, the parents really need to stop their shit and pay attention to their children because they're not giving them the attention that they need at all. It's really sad, but I will say that I'm enjoying the book a lot. I feel like it's a realistic representation of how it is to have someone or to love someone who has an addiction. It's not easy. How addiction affects not only the person who's addicted, but also their loved ones. It's just, again, sad. That's all I can say. Like, it's a sad situation. I am planning to finish this book tonight though because I want to know what's going to happen to Joey. Like, the suspense is killing me. So I'm going to try my best to finish this book tonight and see if Joey is able to kick his addiction. Hopefully, I don't know. Let's see what happens. This was almost a 5-star read for me. It's honestly a 4.75. So close to a 5-star read. This was such a great read, and I feel like everyone should read this book because of how good it was. I know I complained that it was slow moving, which it definitely is, but the message that is conveyed in this book is so important that I think everyone should read it, honestly. Addiction is a problem that can affect anyone, regardless of your socioeconomic status, regardless of your education, regardless of your age. It literally can affect anyone and everyone. And I really loved how this book tackled the topic of addiction, and I really liked how it showed how addiction not only affects the addict, but also the individual's family and friends. And this book did a great job of showing that, and showing that regardless of how much money you have, regardless of your education, regardless of your parents, regardless of the number of friends you have, addiction can still affect you and can still take over your life, which is such a sad thought to think about. My heart goes out to all the Joeys and all the Emmys. I would honestly reread it because it had so many like hidden life gems in it. As you guys can tell, I annotated the crap out of this book, and I can see myself rereading it again. Like, I loved it that much, even though it's such a hard topic, and normally I don't like reading sad books, but the writing was so good in this one that I wouldn't mind rereading it again. And you guys know how I feel about YA books. They're not my favorite books to read, but this one was so good. I highly recommend. Just make sure to look up the trigger warnings and proceed with caution. It's very different from any of the books that I typically recommend on my channel, but I definitely think it's worth the read. I even started tearing up at the end. That's how much this book got to me. The fact that I started tearing up and I wanted to cry. I didn't full on cry, but my eyes were getting super watery, and I was just like, what the heck is going to happen? I was like at the edge of my bed reading this book because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I'm not going to spoil the ending. Just know that you should read this book, okay? Okay. You guys, the synopsis of this book is already making me tear up. Like, I don't think I'm mentally prepared for what I'm about to read. Just listen. Joshua and Lauren are the perfect couple. Newly married, they're wildly in love, each on a successful and rewarding career path. Then Lauren is diagnosed with a terminal illness. As Lauren's disease progresses, Joshua struggles to make the most of the time he has left with his wife and to come to terms with his future. A future without the only woman he's ever loved. What? He's so consumed with finding a way to avoid the inevitable ending. Oh, hold on, my baby. He's so consumed with finding a way to avoid the inevitable ending that he never imagined his life after Lauren. But Lauren has to plan to keep her husband moving forward, a plan hidden in the letters she leaves him. In those letters, one for every month in the year after her death, Lauren leads Joshua on a journey through pain, anger, and denial. It's a journey that would take Joshua from his attempt at a dinner party for family and friends to getting rid of their bed, from a visit with a psychic medium to a kiss with a woman who isn't Lauren. As his grief makes room for laughter and new relationships, Joshua learns Lauren's most valuable lesson. The path to happiness doesn't follow a straight line. One of my greatest fears is losing my husband. So I know this book is just going to make me cry. Like, I just know. I don't think I'm ready for it. Hope you guys are grateful that I'm reading this book, because if I weren't doing this vlog, I would have never picked up this book in a million years, just because of the synopsis. A book can be amazing, but if the synopsis is a sad one, I stay clear from it. I'm only reading this book because of this vlog, so hope you guys enjoy that. I literally just turned to the first chapter of the book. Read that first sentence. Wow. All the books that I've read this week have just jumped right into the sad part of the book. There hasn't been a build-up at all, nothing to mentally prepare the reader. We just dived head first. You guys, I'm like 70 pages into this book. I want to quit reading it. It is so sad. If you read sad books for fun, can you please tell me why? Why do you do this to yourself? I just finished reading chapter 3, you guys, and I'm not okay. I'm literally not okay. You're so cute. much later now, and it took me a minute to like compose myself after finishing this book because it was a lot and it was so sad. I definitely think this was a beautifully written book, even though it was sad as hell, and it literally had me crying throughout the entire thing. I didn't really update you guys as I was reading this book as much as the other two books because it was just too sad and I didn't feel like getting on camera, and also I didn't want to spoil too much of the book. It tackles death, grief, moving on so well, and I feel like it does it in a realistic way, and everyone deals with grief differently, and this book is very unique in the fact that I've never read a book with this type of trope, like write one, not enough time, and it was just so sad. And the epilogue was so beautiful. All the characters are just so amazing. Josh I absolutely love, which is funny because I read two books in this vlog where there's a guy named Josh, and I love both characters named Josh, but Josh was an absolute sweetheart in this book, and I really liked it because not only do you get to see Josh go through his grief and attempt at moving on, but you also get to learn a lot about Lauren, and you get to fall in love with her character even though she passed away pretty early on in the book. You get to see glimpses of their past lives. You get to see her coming to terms with her own terminal illness and trying to prepare Josh as best as she can for when she's no longer there with him, and it's just so sad. The last chapter really messed with me. Like, it was so incredibly sad. That's all I have to say about this book. It's so sad. It's beautiful but sad. I really don't know what rating to give it. I think I'm gonna hold off from giving this book a rating because I don't know whether or not to give it 4 or 5 stars. Like, I enjoyed it, but would I reread it again? Probably not. Would I pick up another Kristen Higgins book? Probably not, because sad books are just not my thing. So I'm kind of conflicted on what rating to give this. I really like the writing, but I can't see myself picking up another book from her if all her books are sad like this one. I just can't. It's not my thing. I feel like I need to go read a romantic comedy ASAP because this book just messed me up. So I'm gonna hold off on the rating for this one. I'm so glad that this week is over and I am officially done reading sad books. I'm not going to pick up a sad book for a very long time, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this vlog. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.